When Keanu Reeves makes his appearance on Jimmy's show, on Kimmel's stage, the audience anticipates typical charisma, thoughtful responses, and a subtle nod of approval to his newest endeavor. But Jimmy has a contrasting strategy in mind behind the smile, and you'll see the cue cards. There's a delicate nuance. He's trying to set a trap, hoping to provoke Keanu. Peaceful and unveil something the world possesses, have never witnessed. Gradually, the mood changes, the laughter fading away, relaxes the tension, ascends, and then an unexpected response occurs, one that no one anticipated, a silence that spoke volumes. Within minutes, everything was the utmost. A renowned TV talk show transforms into the setting for of a live encounter that results in all shocked. Keanu Reeves launched into Jimmy Kimmel's program following a heated confrontation, and what he disclosed that evening remained a secret known only to him. Oh, and just before we go on, do tell us, what is your absolute favorite thing about Keanu Reeves informed us in the lights danced across the studio, bathed in the glow of searchlights sweeping across it. Music throbbed through the speakers all night long, elevating the energy of an audience that is already energized, on the verge of overwhelming joy. The applause reverberated like thunder, bouncing off the walls. On walls adorned with posters, and the neon signs cast a vibrant glow, and the entire set thrummed with energy. Tonight's anticipated guest had arrived. Keanu Reeves ascended the stage with that unique, solemn weight he alone could bear, wearing dark jeans and a simple black, a shirt and a blazer which barely skimmed. He shifted his focus inward, his movements becoming deliberate. An individual who had ceased performing for an extended period. He surveyed the room, searching for approval in their eyes. With a leisurely pace, his smile was barely there, almost imperceptible. Privately, he gave a single wave before taking a seat. Behind the scenes, Maggie stood, curtain, one hand gracefully poised on her hip, else gripping her phone tightly in her hand. Her expression was incongruous with the contents of her coat pocket. The air was charged with excitement, yet she wasn't smiling. She observed two producers as they leaned closer. Right next to a monitor, tonight we're expecting a. In reaction, one responded to the other. He smirked. He's too flawless, too composed. Tonight, Maggie managed to catch every crack. She didn't hesitate. Instead, she pressed on. She recorded on her phone and inserted it further. On stage, Jimmy pulled his coat into her. He presented it with his characteristic charisma. This is a special one tonight, everyone, he said to. The crowd murmured. This guy's more than just a film. He is a philosopher with a dark past. Is the type of person who can recite. Roommate in the act of reloading a shotgun. The audience erupted in cheers, and Keanu responded with a humble nod, grinning as though the compliment wasn't directed at them. With a grin, Jimmy leaned in towards Keanu. You've arrived with a fresh project in hand. Silent now. No explosions this moment. Keanu nodded. It's a documentary, he said. Amidst the pauses, it's a matter of belief. About how sometimes we discover meaning not amidst the noise, yet within the silences. Sounds intense, Jimmy remarked, his eyebrows raised. What's striking is the act of feigning intensity. When things aren't going well, it's all good, Keanu. Silence, at times, is not a withdrawal. That's how we make it, Jimmy chuckled. Wow, this is getting intense, okay? Earlier this evening, Maggie moved backstage. Her gaze was fixed on Jimmy's cue cards, and her face grew grim as she snagged some highlighted keywords memes. Monk Keanu wearing a cross necklace, a symbol of his religious faith. More upright in his chair, or perhaps simply, though he smiled, his body remained rigid. Became still, like an animal that had just sensed a trap. You dedicated 4 years to this documentary, Jimmy stated as he turned over a card. Occasionally, I find myself in solitude, without speaking to another soul. That's incredibly intense for a few days, Keanu. Put simply, what's even more extreme is, Jimmy laughed. never ceasing to listen. It was an automatic reflex, something you just did without thinking. Perhaps you're taking things a bit too seriously, man. Keanu remained unmoved. Seriousness isn't the lack of joy is the presence of. The audience offered a few gentle murmurs of purpose. Jimmy flashed a grin, clapping his hands. A subtle crack resonated from something behind it. "Look at you," he said, gesturing towards you. Keanu's stance is reminiscent of a modern day. A monk, but with way more stylish footwear. Are you? Is this the norm, or was this a one-time occurrence? Indicate that you're not interested in shows, Keanu. Then the silence that ensued wasn't. It was a dramatic, weighty moment for Jimmy, and he reacted swiftly. Drew another card, excited to change direction. This evening, we're planning to stick with. People who enjoy light-hearted things prefer to laugh rather than go somewhere. Therapy, right everyone? He pointed to the crowd, who erupted in laughter. When Keanu didn't reply, his eyes remained momentarily lowered to the cards. Within Jimmy's grasp, a subtle change occurred. Slowly, he crossed his legs and leaned back into the chair, yet not with comfort. His smile did not disappear despite the preparation. Backstage, there was anger but also recognition for Maggie. Her whisper was barely audible. There, he's being pushed, and he's aware of it. The audience knows too. Continued to chuckle, oblivious to the silence. Being seated next to Jimmy wasn't a passive experience. They were waiting, the screen looming behind them burst into existence with a brilliant flash. Jimmy shifted his gaze to the audience, shining brightly. "So we retrieved some items from," he stated, practically vibrating with excitement, "that the internet." His seat, you all know about the meme economy. This man is beloved. Let's examine what they've accomplished with Keanu throughout the years. The crowd erupted in cheers, while Keanu's eyes remained fixed. The initial image materialized on the screen. A slightly blurred picture of him standing outside a hospital. An individual, clad in a mask and hoodie, stood alone. Had placed a cartoon halo above his head. Included the phrases St. John Wick and Bubble letters, and warped his countenance into a. Jimmy's laughter, filtered and utterly ridiculous, erupted. Glanced at the screen, grinning. I mean, even when he's making the purchase. Despite taking painkillers, he still appears to be. As the world was saved, the audience erupted in cheers. Kanu's mouth remained still. His hands were the only things moving. Lay quietly in his lap, the edges of. His smile was gone, replaced by another image. A glimpse emerged from a red carpet event. Focused on the silver cross hanging from his. With a playful tone, Jimmy leaned forward, his voice. "Here's a hero known for their action, who also." This laughter goes to confession. Once, the passage of time was more pronounced. A few individuals whistled. Someone yelled, "Preach, Keanu." He remained unmoved, just fluttered. Behind the scenes, Maggie stood motionless, frozen in place. Her jaw was tight, a testament to the sight she had witnessed. That she had crossed before being the one who'd handed it to him following the funeral. She understood the significance of it all, Jimmy still. The laughter continued, riding high. Genuine Keanu, are you living like a monk these days? Or simply a remarkably talented actor feigning to be enraged? The room was suspended in a moment of tense silence. Even Jimmy appeared to understand he'd overstepped. Even though Keanu didn't raise his voice, his expression remained unchanged despite the pain. He spoke softly. "I've lived through it," he said. That silence, too, conveys a message through laughter. Individuals shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Respectfully clapped tentatively, the rest. Jimmy, looking confused, cleared his throat. He attempted a smile, but it faltered. All right, I deserve that," he muttered. Stated, I'm simply attempting to maintain. Here, things are fun, kind of like wandering poetry. I'm lost for what to do." He gave a small nod in agreement. "Perhaps just listen," he suggested. Jimmy nervously laughed, casting another glance at the. He wasn't chuckling anymore, so He went on to say, I also discovered a tweet that Keanu Reeves stated, and I quote, What if empathy were to develop a six-pack? You believe that's just, but I don't agree. Keanu stated that empathy requires effort. Jimmy needed to be present, so he set the card down. Man, I swear, you've always had this personality. Keanu gazed directly at him. You mean, not finding humor in someone else's suffering? An eerie quiet descended upon the audience. Not uncomfortable, but tense, carrying a few. The individuals in the first row ceased their smiling. Jimmy let out a breath, attempting to shift his weight and lift. His arms, akin to a conductor guiding an orchestral composition. We're going to make some changes. How about we play a quick game? The screen behind them flickered once more, displaying a title. Were displayed in large, bubbly letters. True or Jimmy, in a false Keanu edition, turned back to. Here's how the camera functions, he explained. We present a story Keanu shares with us, assuming it to be. Was it real or just something from the internet? He wondered. Keanu's wide grin sounded great. He didn't move, and then he spoke slowly. That's not why I'm here, Jimmy replied, his eyes widening. Sorry, what? Keanu moved a little in. His tone remained unchanged as he sat in his chair. The interview has transformed into a spectacle, and I am not. Here to play a role, a few audience members whispered. Some members clapped softly, while others simply observed. Around unsure, Jimmy managed a smile. Man, you're really dedicated to this. Keanu subtly leaned forward, his voice. Serene eyes, steady, and perhaps you require to truly feel something genuine, the words resonated. Similar to weight sinking into a silent pool. Jimmy, taken aback, blinked twice. His grin had disappeared, and he opened his mouth. However, nothing emerged from backstage. The camera assistant's eyes darted to the control panel. Inside the director's booth, a hushed whisper was directed to someone's voice strained. He's doing it. She stated that Keanu was rearranging the room. On stage, Jimmy sat motionless, one hand still in midair. The card, the other one laid upon his knee. The laughter had disappeared from around them. Perfectly situated was something. Otherwise, something that no one present had. Jimmy stated, intended for a brief span of seconds. He just kept his gaze fixed on Keanu's eyes, moving quickly, as if looking for a humorous ending. That had been overlooked, but no laughter came to his aid this time. Only the studio lights buzzed, their hum filling the time. The quietude above and the hushed anticipation of the audience, abruptly uncertain about which show they were watching. Then Keanu spoke. My sister. He died from leukemia, he stated softly. While I was 23, I spent 2 years sleeping on the hospital floor. Stillness reigned. No one moved my daughter. She was stillborn, and her mother and I laid her to rest. Her during a rainy afternoon we called her Ava, nestled in the Hollywood Hills. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. My closest friend collided with a tree while driving. At 90 miles per hour, the car detonated. I was meant to. That night, Jimmy moved to be closer to him. With wide eyes, he sat, not having asked. He had no answer for any of it. Keanu chose to remain silent, continuing, due to the fact that I had nothing to express, but because all I could express seemed insignificant. Behind the scenes, Maggie covered her mouth with. Her gaze was fixed on Keanu, her hand held steady. Radiant individuals inquire as to why I remain silent. He stated, why don't I fight back? It's since I've already battled through the most dreadful kind of noise. Jimmy cleared his. I didn't mean to, man. I was just looking at your throat. Simply attempting to brighten the atmosphere a bit. Keanu's gaze remained fixed on him. I understand that sometimes humor can act as a protective barrier. But when you transform someone's sorrow into what are you truly up to in this guessing game? Jimmy slowly blinked, then a smile graced his lips. All right, let's return to the enjoyable part. Huh, he exclaimed, pointing at the screen. Okay, let's keep things light, a fresh slide. Which of these Keanu Reeves stories is true? Genuine photographs and headlines appeared rapidly. Vibrant hues, Keanu purchases ice cream. The entire crew secretly supports Keanu's cancer funding efforts. In hospitals, Keanu enjoys his lunch in solitude. Jimmy clapped his hands excitedly in the park. All right, choose the real story about Keanu. Didn't glance at the screen this. He stated, this isn't a game, and emphasized this isn't the silence that ensued wasn't. It was awkward, a sharp, piercing sensation as if something had. A soft murmur rippled through the air, just barely audible. Among the audience, some individuals were. Despite her smile, uncertainty lingered as others started, adjusting their positions slightly. Now that he was comfortable, Jimmy tried again. His voice held a sharpness, a hint of urgency, as if time itself was pressing in. You take everything way too seriously. Perhaps that's the issue. Maybe you require. To relax, Keanu didn't even blink. Approached with a steady voice, and perhaps you. Jimmy needs to experience something genuine. The expression wavered, and at first, throughout the night, the mask would slip just a little. Slightly behind the scenes, the director inclined forward. He's slipping away, she murmured. Keanu is putting the blame entirely on him. On stage, Jimmy remained motionless, his hands hanging limply. His smile had vanished entirely from his lap. Now, the room's energy pulsed around him. Had changed, and there was no going back. Jimmy's jaw was strained by the extended reach of the pause. Gripped tightly as he repositioned himself, he tapped his fingers twice on the chair. He chuckled shortly and with effort, then rested his arm on the armrest.